Okay, well, we're rolling. Welcome, everyone. We are with the cast of Namaka, a new film by our friend Frank Merle. And we have Frank on the podcast now with the two actor and actress. Do we say like two leads?
We can say lead. I think
leads.
so. I think that's fair.
Ash and Jason. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha, hello.
Aloha. I'm excited to record a podcast about a movie in Hollywood.
There we go. That's right.
I've made it. Let's talk about the movie. I'm excited to talk about this because I was fortunate enough to be invited to the premiere.
Oh,
So
that was so much fun.
Thank you for that, Frank. Yeah, how cool is that? You know, so many things went through my head after I walked away from this film. So I'm glad we get to talk about this today. Let's start with how the movie came to mind. Like, what inspired you to make this movie, Frank?
One word: Hawaii.
Okay.
I was on vacation in Hawaii and doing research. I went to a few cultural centers, museums, learned about as much as wherever I travel, I like to learn about the local culture. And I picked up a book on Hawaiian and Polynesian mythology. And it was fascinating. It was really cool. I started reading these myths about the demigods, specifically Maui. And I had seen Moana, the Disney film. And I realized that the story of Moana is very much based on actual Hawaiian mythology. And you had this character of Maui, a demigod, half human, half god, who was obsessed with getting adoration from humans. And so in Moana, he sings the song, "You're Welcome." And that's because he really wants, to please the humans. Everything Maui does is to get their affection because he's neither all God or all human. And so he doesn't feel at home in either place. And I was just really fascinated by that. And I just got the idea of what if there was a demigod whose obsession with humans turned into a fatal attraction,
Right.
type thing. And that was the start. I was like, I want to try doing a dark fantasy thriller based on some of these same myths,
Right.
that I had read about.
So it's funny because that's not how I walked away from the movie. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. When you were reading about Hawaiian mythology, I'm curious what you learned. Did you hear about the pork over the pally thing?
Yes.
Don't take pork over the pally.
And
What is the meaning of that?
well, so Pele. I forgot the god that Pele. Yeah, shoot. Okay, so Pele is the fire goddess. We actually talk about this in the movie. So Pele, I'm trying to think. Jamie Kennedy's character talks about Pele was in a relationship with Kamapua. That's it, Kamapua.
Yeah. And he nails how he says that.
Kamapua. Yes, you were on set. You were on set when we were. He says it. Yes, we got one good take of Kamapua. So how the story goes is that the fire goddess was in the relationship with the demigod Kamapua, and when they broke up, they divided the island in half. And since Kamapua gave pork to the humans, the pork has to stay on Kamapula's side of the island. And so if you attempt to take pork from one side of the island to the other, bad things will happen.
So I didn't know that whole explanation. I've been going to Hawaii for over 30 years. And the first time I went there, one of the locals said, "Oh, by the way, you have pork in the car?" And I said, "I don't think so." And he said, "If you do, don't take it over the pally." And I'm like, "Why not?" And he said, no one takes pork over the pally, brah. Don't take pork over the pally. And so I tell everybody, don't take pork over the pally because I was told by a local not to take pork over the pally.
And now you know why.
Okay, now I know why. Yeah.
So I have a silly question.
Okay.
And I haven't been to Hawaii since I've been there twice. I was there when I was like 1.5 and when I was 4. So I can tell you all about it. The water was blue, the waves were high, and the foliage was green. But how big is that area? How much, like how many miles has to be a pork-free zone? I mean, there must be exceptions.
Well, wait a second. First of all, spoiler alert, dude. You met Namaka on the islands, right? You met her in Hawaii.
Oh, I met her in Hawaii. Well, look, when you're on set, like you don't get a lot of free time.
And we're really in the zone.
Wait, so you're telling me you weren't in Hawaii when you met Namaka?
Mentally.
I suppose we'll get to that. That's a whole.
We will talk all about that.
So to answer your question, Jason, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know like where you start with the pally. Like, you know, is it once you take an on-ramp? It's a highway through the mountains. I have
just
no idea.
A couple mountains, just an altitude you can't bring pork. That's cool.
You know, the thing is that we don't tempt Hawaiian mythology because there's this whole thing about people taking home lava rocks and then their lives just go to shit, right? Like,
cursed.
And a friend of mine who runs a souvenir stand in Maui says the guy next door always has stuff delivered back to him. He sells these bonsai trees. And with like little lava rocks on them, right? And he said people send back stuff to him all the time. And if you look it up, the post office says that they get anonymous shipments of lava rock every day. Because people, and then with apology letters and stuff.
Because their lives have
because
been
their
changed.
lives have.
It's a regret.
Well, you know, I want to respect all the mythologies and customs, but I spent a bit of time, don't tell the government. I spent a bit of time in Russia about 10 years ago, and they have all kinds of superstitions. And one of them is you must always wear socks inside because they
really?
Because they got some spooky Russian foot winds. Even inside, we'll go up the building into the open window, and just the winds will chill your feet. And maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you'll get sick.
Yeah.
And it was the Russian foot wind.
Russian foot winds.
Interesting.
Spooky Russian.
I have not heard of that one.
I have not either.
So with Namaka,
Yes, sir.
Did you pull some of the mythology you read about into the movie, or did you kind of just take creative license?
I definitely when I wrote the first draft, I let everything that I had read about just sort of I digested it all, and then I told the story that I wanted to tell. And I wanted to say the very first person who I let read my first draft was Akeme Welsh, my friend, who a lot of people in the Tiki community might be familiar with her. She's a dance instructor, Polynesian Paradise Dancers, and she is also a Polynesian cultural advisor. And she had worked on the original Lilo and Stitch as an advisor. And so when I first met her, it was probably 10 years ago at a fundraiser for the Egyptian theater. They used to do a tiki night every year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah.
And what I realized she
that was with Denny King Kukulele.
Yes.
And she dances with him.
Yes.
When he performs.
That's right. And so she brought her students to do a hula dance. And what I really admired about her show is she would in between each number, she would give the audience context, real understanding of what the meaning behind these dances were. And so she and I had become friends, so I said, I want you to read this script and be completely honest with me about, find anything in the script that is, not culturally relevant or accurate or that I'm taking too many liberties. And she gave me some great notes, some great advice for my second draft. My second draft was so much better than the first.
Okay.
There's little details that I think Native Hawaiians will notice in the film and appreciate, like the marriage ceremony. Oh, by the way, I was going to ask: are we doing this? Is this a spoilers? Is this podcast for people who have seen the movie, or should people stop and watch the movie?
I've thought about that, but a lot of what I want to talk about, we're going to have to just do a spoiler alert because
well, maybe we should do that now.
There are details that.
Maybe it's self-serving of me, but if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Namaka,
go see the movie.
Yeah,
go see the movie.
If you're listening to this, see the movie.
Go see the movie. So, let's take a quick interruption right here to encourage people to see the movie before they go any further so that they understand what we're talking about.
Perfect.
So let's throw that real quick. Where can they see it?
It's namakamovie.com.
Okay.
Has all the links so that the movie is currently available to rent or purchase on Amazon DVD, on Amazon Prime Video, YouTube Movies, Fandango, Apple TV, and Dish Network, and DirecTV.
Okay.
And Hoopla.
I'm about to say Hoopla.
And Hoopla.
Don't forget about Hoopla.
That's a fun one to say, yeah.
So go out and watch the movie and then come back and listen to our podcast because we're about to get into some spoilers. Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. So I talked about that when I walked away from this movie.
Mhm.
It was different than what you
Yeah.
had just said.
Yeah.
Right. So I walked away from this movie with a couple things in mind. Number one, there's a couple of life lessons, right? Which is don't fuck around. That's like one of them, right? Although when Jason's character kissed Namaka for the first time, I was like, "Yeah, dude, yeah."
You know, so I've had the pleasure of seeing this film with many different audiences, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
different audiences have very different
They react
reactions.
differently.
Oh, yeah.
So in Chicago, everybody was scandalized. So it was so funny when we did like a sold out crowd here in LA. Everybody's like cheering, yeah, get it on.
Yeah, see?
And then in Chicago, everyone's, oh no, you didn't. Shame on you.
So I guess
shame.
it's an because I grew up in Southern
Yep.
California, so I
Yep.
guess it's an LA thing.
So, but yes, so I think that's a fair takeaway from the movie. Is
So and I want to get into that a little bit more, but before we get too deep into that, let's introduce our characters. So Ash, hello Ash.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. How did you get involved in the film?
I auditioned for the film through my manager, and then the first part of it was a self-tape that I taped at my house, and then after we did a callback, which is where I first met Frank, and that was probably one of the most terrifying moments that I've had in my career. You know,
is it because of me? Am I that scary?
He's intimidating, isn't he?
no, Frank is not scary. He's very nice, and he was, you know, with all the actors, and when we were doing the callback, you know, it was kind of it was also a chemistry read, because we were reading with other people that were up for the male lead. And I actually did not audition with Jason. And so Frank took a risk on, you know, casting us together, but I think it worked out.
Frank's a bit of a creative genius. He was like playing like Tetris in his head. He was like,
Yeah.
okay, what fits with what? And that's I very much admire that about you, Frank. Even during the shooting process, you would say, no, it's like, okay, you would have communications between writer Frank and director Frank and producer Frank, and that started long before we got to set, because the way auditions went, I definitely read with 3 or 4 other women, and I assumed, okay, one of them must be Namaka, right? You must have assumed one of them must have been Alex, right?
Yeah.
And it was so cool to meet you, because you knocked my reading partners out of the water, and I had some
You
great
too.
partners. Thank you.
I pay Jason $10 every time he calls me a creative genius. So thank you. I'm keeping a running tally. But yeah, so I did a full day of callback. So it was the number of people these two actors had to beat out to get these roles, because it was just an open audition. I really just
open audition. Okay.
Yes, I wanted to find the best. So you know, I put the breakdown out. The casting notice went out. Described these two characters. For Alex, I got about 1,000 submissions.
You're kidding me.
1,000 submissions.
Dude, awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
For Namaka, I got about 300 submissions.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
I love it.
based on those submissions, I invited about 50 each to do a self-tape.
Okay.
So, do you guys want to talk about the self-tape? Did you have access to the whole script, or just the scenes?
Did not.
I don't think
tell
so.
tell us about that first, if you can remember.
What was the scene that you guys auditioned with?
I feel like there was, in my brain I see 2, but I'm sure it was just 1. In my head I see 2 of them in my head, if I remember correctly.
I think there were 2. There was 2 scenes.
But in my head,
I'm sadistic like that.
yeah, in my head I feel like we somehow did it as 1, because in my head it feels like 1 audition, not 2 scenes. But it was definitely it was a scene. It wasn't the first time they met, but when things started getting a little more flirtatious or a little mysterious. They were very mysterious scenes, which I really thought was fun as part of the audition process. Because like, okay, there's a mystery here. I don't know it. I'm going to lean into this. I'm not going to question the mystery. I know there's a mystery, and my character's experiencing it. And that was kind of fun for me, just accepting that. and bring in myself to that moment. Because look, it's life. We all got mysteries or questions.
Yeah, and I like that the scenes that you chose, it wasn't either like the beginning scene and, you know, obviously, well, maybe somebody would choose like the ending scene, but, you know, it's somewhere in the middle. And for me, the way that I like to audition is like, I'll read something and then whatever my gut tells me, my first thought is like, okay, I'm just going to go with that and not try to like extract everything and then try to figure out, you know, what the director might want. It's like your first reaction, I think, can be the right one. And so with that, I felt like I kind of knew the vibe of what that scene was. And I think it was when we were talking about like your music or something like that. Or we were getting to know each other.
That's it. It's the first half of the middle scene. That's it. It's the ukulele scene.
I feel like the post reveal that she's not just a person. I feel like that was in the audition. Am I insane?
That might have been the callback. Well, no, it's definitely the callback because. Well, I'll get to that. But for the callback day, I did 8 hours of callbacks. So I had identified, I want to say maybe 6 potential Alexes, 6 potential Namakas. And I staggered them in at different times. So I wasn't going to keep everybody there for 8 hours, but I was able to, you're right, as a chemistry read, I would have different Alexes do the scene with different Namakas. And after this 8 hour, you know, so I gave everybody who came for the callback ample time to play with these roles and to play with with their scene partners. And I, at the end of that 8 hours, was completely convinced of who my Alex was and who my Namaka was, and the fact that they hadn't met because one of them was in the morning, one was in the afternoon. It did not matter to me. I didn't need another chemistry read because both of them lit it up with each scene partner that they were given.
That's amazing.
It didn't matter who their scene partner was. They were the right fit for the character, so I knew that they would work together.
So it's funny that you say that as someone who's seen the film. The chemistry is great. It's like,
yeah, I'm very proud of that. I mean, these guys just knocked it out of the park. But that's when you beat out 1,000 people for the role, like that's you know, it's these two actors understood something about the characters they were playing, right, and internalized it and were truthful, and so I knew that would come out on screen.
So obviously, the both of you have acting experience. You've worked on other projects. How is it when you are not on set? Do you take the characters home with you? Is that something that's hard to let?
Really good question.
Something's hard to let go of.
Ooh, so that's funny. I gotta like you're supposed to leave things at the end of the day, but I also believe you bring the entirety of your life to not just to like, you know, the acting or any art you do, but to everything you do. You bring your life with you.
You don't really have a choice.
No, you really, exactly. You know, that being said, you know, when you're doing acting, when you're doing movies and theater, you're typically not playing someone having the best day of their life.
Right.
You know,
okay.
So, you know, you embark on and sharing or having someone else's experience. But you got to learn how to bring it. I got a story. I was doing some theater. So I mentioned I was in Russia. I was doing theater in Russia. And we were doing a live theater version of some Dostoevsky. And we had this really fun scene where instead of like lights, me and the other actor were like shining flashlights in each other's eye, having this really just really aggressive, like, ugh. And so I remember it might have been, we were done with that show, something happened, and some like sunlight bounced off of a car going past, and like the light hit me in the eyes, and instantly all of these words came to my head, and I was like, whoa, we got to get better at dropping that. I might have internalized some of this trauma. So look, we do our best, but every once in a while, like anyone, the light hits you the right way, and suddenly these words start coming back to you, or you know, fun little, just working on it.
It becomes part of you.
Well,
right?
yeah. I mean, yes.
It's kind of. Is it impossible for it not to? I mean,
I think that's the fun of it too. It's like when you get a script and you start reading it, you just, at least for me, it's like I just think about how does this relate to my life, to be able to make those connections, to dive into a role deeper. And I mean, I like that, you know. I like to become this story and have it, you know, live in my life and then eventually be able to live it.
And Alex, for in the beginning, or a lot of the shell of this character seems really easygoing and like relaxed. There's a lot of that I can relate to and play, but like all of that's masking a lot of disappointment and pain, and I don't think he shares a little bit of that throughout the story. And when I look at the script or watch it, or just think about it, here's a guy who's sort of given a remedy to a lot of things he's feeling, but also because of just his habits and like what he's learned throughout his life and what he believes right and wrong is, he's unable to sort of accept like the remedy to his depression.
So see, it's funny again. That's not the perspective that I saw.
Well, it's there. It's there. It's this poor. I feel bad for Alex. I feel bad.
I do too. I do too. But here's the thing. I see it as he succumbed to temptation. I've always said that the devil is a beautiful woman in a red dress. It's not like this big burly thing with
or
horns.
A grass skirt.
Or a grass skirt. I mean, like, temptation is if the devil wants to get you, it's going to do the best that how it's going to tempt you the easiest way. So to me, it was a he just fell to temptation.
What if he just
Alex is flawed because I create this. When we meet this character, he's at a pretty low place.
And I get that because
yes.
That's how you fall for temptation, right? When you have all of these things in your head about how your life is screwed up, all these things that you want more.
Right. He was in a band. The band broke up, so he's feeling very vulnerable. He's feeling that nobody loves him. He was getting all this admiration, or wanted all this admiration as part of a rock band. And here comes this creature out of the woods who says, "I love your music."
Frank called you creature.
I'll take it. She's a creature.
Yeah.
She's a creature.
That was the other scene I wanted to talk about at the callback. Since this is the spoiler part of the show, right? I did the very end of the movie. And I think that I didn't ask people to prep that. I think I just like brought that out as improv for those who I was pretty sure, might be one of my top choices for the role. I described the last scene of the movie. I said, "Okay, Alex, sit there on the log and play your ukulele," right? And I described how the movie was, because I knew the ending of the movie, and I knew the actors didn't know how the movie was going to end. So I said, you've gotten yourself in trouble with this demigod. You are praying to the gods to get you out of this, okay? So you're playing this beautiful music. Namaka, you're going to stand behind him. You're going to listen to that music, and you are going to decide whether or not the music is good enough, worthy enough to spare his life. You have this dagger in your hand, and you make a choice. You have two choices. You can kill him, or you can add the dagger to the shrine, to the gods, and choose peace. And so what's fun is, so I just wanted to see these actors dig very deep, right? Of all my Namakas, I think Ash was the only one that chose violence.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And also,
I like that.
I mean, I think, and I remember that moment, and I was like, I can't just put the sword down.
Yeah,
like,
what's the strong choice here?
Like, what is the strong choice? And also, like, the character that I had created, from reading the scenes and then doing the tape and then reading the next scene to do the callback, like, in my head, she was the kind of demigod that would kill him.
You understood she was a trickster.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm sorry,
which
he's
I think
go.
is
he's got to die.
I just
a fun part about it.
I had such an advantage at that point.
What? Explain.
Because I'm the guy who brought a ukulele to the audition. True. I keep forgetting this. So I always hear this. I'm like, yeah. And so
do you know how to play ukulele, or did you have to learn for the movie?
So I do know how to play ukulele, and
Okay.
I heard the way you said it, and I should start saying it that way. That's
Ukulele,
how it's pronounced. Ukulele, not ukulele.
We talk about it in the movie.
We talk about it. It's like the third line.
Yeah.
I've been playing ukulele for 25 years. That's why.
Oh man, I bet I could learn a lot from. Seriously.
No, I mean, like, I'm not a pro.
Well, neither am I.
But here's the thing: you learn a half dozen chords, you can play 1,000.
I know
songs.
it's so.
So I can play 1,000 songs if that makes it sound impressive. But
No.
they all have the same.
I can play 1,000 songs.
They all have the same chord.
It really,
pattern.
it's such a beautiful
It is,
instrument.
yeah.
It feels good after a long day of work, or you just find. Look for like. So
And I did what Alex did. I bought an ukulele when I was in Hawaii once.
Did you really?
Yeah.
See, these are the kind of stories I love. You know, this is I really felt like this movie is a love letter to Hawaii, a love letter to tiki culture too, and because all things Polynesian but also Polynesian fantasy, right? Because this is a fantasy film, and so I also saw this as a musical, where there are
interesting.
There are 3 times in the movie that the story just sort of stops for a minute or so we can enjoy some ukulele music.
And the
right?
songs are so beautiful.
And
They
so
are
we have
beautiful. Really
original
beautiful.
songs.
Yeah.
And that was what, when the movie got greenlit, one of the first things they did, reached out to a ukulele artist to write original songs for us. And then, Chrissy Hogarth, and she's Chrissy Ukulele on social media. And so she wrote 3 original songs, and I said, I let her read the script. I said, I want 3 songs. I want 1 happy, 1 sad, and 1 sexy. And that's what she did. She wrote 3 songs, and then we jokingly called them happy, sad, and sexy.
Okay.
and so that was. But Jason, you want to talk about the process of trying to fake it?
So I can play ukulele, and I enjoy it. I play it, if not daily, a couple times a week. I have a standard ukulele and a baritone. Which is, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
A little bigger, but we used my blue ukulele. So
that was yours. That's
mine.
actually yours.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, I love that thing, and it's small. It travels well.
Independent filmmaking.
Filmmaking.
So that's one of the things that if I were in the movie and my character were playing ukulele, that'd be one of those things I'd want to steal for myself.
Oh yeah.
That's your souvenir from the project.
I didn't let anyone else take it as their souvenir.
Yeah.
It's mine. I love that thing. And so, but I enjoy, I can play chords. The truth is, those songs were well out of my league. So Chrissy lovingly sent some videos of her playing slowly so I can get an idea of a bit of, the chords and like the plucking.
Well, you seemed like a natural when you were in the movie. I mean, you looked like proficient.
I'll take some credit for that as the editor.
Definitely.
Of the movie.
Okay. A lot of that says mostly Frank. I'm happy while watching. I know. Look, we are using movie magic because I'm not playing, but I did in attempts to like emulating her music. I did actually get better as a player, and I actually felt like I had the opening to a couple of them, and we played the music in the background, so I kind of had an idea. It's not perfect, but I'm really happy. I'm actually very happy with the result.
It was great. We had
I think it
playback
came
on
out great.
set.
It came out. It looks very well.
And I know we're faking it, but I feel like it's not. The faking part is the sound. I'm proud of my work on that one because I wouldn't call myself a musician. I just very much enjoy. I find it expressive.
Yeah. Well, your character did as well. Yeah.
He was looking for a new way to express himself.
Exactly. Okay, so can I talk about what I took away from this movie?
Please do.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple examples first. So let's first talk about, and these are related to my perspective. So The Karate Kid, when it was rebooted on Netflix. Did you guys watch it?
Cobra Kai?
Cobra Kai. It was rebooted as Cobra Kai. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't. I didn't have Netflix at the time, but I just got it. I just
just
got it
got
back.
it.
I just watched
Cobra Kai.
I'm doing
haven't
Stranger
seen it.
Things
Okay.
first. But
I've
I'm
heard
getting
it's great,
Cobra
though.
Kai.
It's great. So, but you've seen Karate Kid. Okay, you've seen Karate Kid. Okay, so when Cobra Kai rebooted that franchise, it basically started with the perspective of Johnny Lawrence, who was pictured as the bad guy in the movie. And so we all cheer for Ralph Macchio in the movie, right? And when Cobra Kai comes out, you realize that, he was actually the asshole, and Johnny Lawrence, who was portrayed as the bad guy in the movie, is actually the good guy. So then you become Team Cobra Kai, right? So let's put that to the side a little bit, and then let's go to the movie Back to the Future. You've seen Back to the Future? Okay. One of my favorite movies, great movie. You probably know that Michael J. Fox was not the original actor who played Marty. It was Eric Stoltz. And why they didn't use Eric Stoltz and they fired him and brought in Michael J. Fox was that Eric Stoltz had a different perspective of Back to the Future. they wanted it to be more comedic, but he viewed it as very tragic because he said when Marty McFly comes back from the past, he comes back to a family that's basically complete strangers. They're completely different than who he knew. And his home and everything is like now everything is motivated materially. He got the truck, the house is all flashy, and it was kind of a sad ending to Eric Stoltz. So he was trying to play the character that way. And the producers didn't want that feel for the movie. Okay, so let's put that to the side. So now I'm watching Namaka, and Namaka's portrayed as the bad person, right? As the quote unquote villain. But I walked away thinking like it's kind of tragic. She's in her own prison.
Yeah.
She is.
Right? Again, spoiler alert, when Namaka meets the next guy, and you know, it's this foreboding like, oh, like it's the cycle repeats itself, right? To me, it's just another attempt at her trying to find companionship and company. And it's sad when she's like, what is this? What's the word I'm looking for? She's basically cursed with eternity, searching, right? My son, who was a big fan of Black Mirror when it first came out, some of them, he stopped watching it because he said, oh, there was this one episode where it ended with this guy stuck in this eternal loop of something that was, he's like, it made me think about it, and it actually like kind of messed me up in the head that this guy is still going through this eternal loop. So I can't watch that anymore. He's like those episodes just mess with my head too much.
Yeah, it gets a little too real these days.
Yeah, so
Well, this was intentional, and it's a treat for me as a filmmaker to hear comparisons to Karate Kid and Back to the Future because they don't make movies like they used to.
Sure. So the takeaway for me is that I'm going to say something about American Greed. You watch American Greed?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you know the TV show American Greed? It's a TV show.
Seen
where they talk about people getting taken by Ponzi schemes and you know, people investing money into this thing, and there's a double meaning for that show to me. So most people will probably take away that the greedy person is the one who stole all the money, right? The person who didn't return money back to people investing. But the people investing who want to make more money from just putting a couple dollars in and thinking they're going to become millionaires, they're greedy too. So both parties are guilty of greed to me, right?
Like attracts like.
Exactly. So there's a double meaning in that title and in that series to me. And when I watch Namaka, there's a double meaning. There's like, you see two sides of the story. So in my mind, there is not really a good person and a bad person. There's each perspective. And you have, at least for me, I have empathy for both.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Namaka was completely abandoned by her entire family because she's a demigod, and so her family can travel all over the world, and you know, she is trapped to this island and cannot leave. So,
and how horrible is it to be abandoned by your family, right?
It's terrible
for eternity.
So you empathize with her, and you know, she does some not great things, but she's misunderstood. Misunderstood.
Okay, she does do some not great things, but let's see. With it wasn't said in the movie how long she's been trying to find companionship. But you reach a point probably where you become, you know, desperation, right? You start getting to the point where you're going to do whatever you need to do, right? And if you're going in circles trying to find companionship and you start getting frustrated, right? You think like, okay, I'm not playing games anymore. I have to be more aggressive, or I have to be. You just do what you got to do, you know. So anyway, that's my takeaway was all the dual expressions of like this person's story, this perspective. But I walk away thinking like, wow, so it was kind of complex takeaway for me.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yes, that was all intentional, making it as making each character as three-dimensional as possible. I also wanted a movie that would hold up well to multiple viewings, because on a first viewing, I think there's an assumption that she's she's gaga for this guy. She's in love with love. You sort of accept that aspect of it. Now, Jamie's character, Guy Trevino, the self-described expert, right? He has a very key scene. His last scene where the two of them meet in the bar, and he's got these stack of library books. Then he says, "Well, I've learned as much as I can, and I'm going to impart as much wisdom as I can to you." He talks about that the demigods are cursed because they're neither gods nor human, and their obsession with humans is that humans have mortality, and that makes everything they do meaningful. Okay, so for me, as I was writing Namaka, I thought about how lonely and weird it would be to exist forever, but she's also trapped on this island. She can't go anywhere, and so the little dopamine hits that she'll get by falling in love is the only thing she finds. She says as much, right? When she's begging him not to leave, she says, my feelings for you is the only thing that keeps my loneliness at bay. And maybe that's something that I'm hoping a lot of the audience can relate to, even if you're a mortal, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to have compassion for all my characters. I didn't want to just write her as a bad guy. But there is the twist that happens at the very end, when the next guy shows up and she's immediately able to go back into damsel in distress mode. And it was really fun watching the movie with audiences when we had our theatrical run, because you would hear the audible gasps from people when so this guy comes out of the woods. As soon as Alex is dead, she starts drumming. This other guy comes out of the woods, and the last 6 lines of the movie is almost word for word the first 6 lines.
By the way, I didn't see that coming.
When these two characters meet, because this is, for her, she's done this so many times.
Yeah.
She knows exactly how to woo a guy. Yeah. She knows exactly how to make him fall in love, right? And you start to see him. I love it because Spencer Breslin comes in at the end, and he only has, I think, 6 lines in the movie. He comes in, and you start to see him fall in love with her because she's this damsel in distress, and she's very believable in that moment. So I loved the turn, because when we see the turn, now we realize that she was purely acting at the beginning of the movie. So I really think that the movie holds up well to multiple viewings.
So I'm going to go back to Devil in a Red Dress, because Namaka shows up with this guy, and you can go back and think like, oh, so the devil failed in this attempt. The devil's going to try again.
I will say for Spencer's...
She's relentless.
Yeah.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I imagine the character Spencer plays, his circumstances in his life can't be identical to Alex's.
No.
Or I don't know, maybe she's really good at... Look, in that moment with the drums, I always wonder in that moment, is she taking her... Is there that magic happening? Is she sort of wrinkling time and space and bringing the next person closer? Or is it just it's an interesting moment for me. It's surreal. A lot of things are surreal about this film that I like.
So I thought about the way that I saw it was that she's just trying her hand with everybody.
Yeah. And I think too, there's kind of this funny trope, and we saw this in the Barbie movie, where all the guys are sitting around playing guitar for the girls, distracting them. And so for me, playing Namaka, I think she learns about the guys that she meets, and then she knows exactly what will get them. And for you, it's music.
And I believe too, Namaka finds that little piece in every guy absolutely beautiful and attractive, it's. I believe that.
Yeah. I'd never thought of that, but that's a great point. Yeah,
I meant. Look, when you look at, Alex is only there for 2 weeks on vacation. It's not; these aren't 2-week windows. It just so happens this 2 weeks were just a very, take that whole relationship, and when you crunch it into 2 weeks, he's just that's high pressure, high temperature. Shit happens real fast. The knife to the shell happens a lot earlier in that relationship than others. I like to believe that Spencer has a much happier shot, or a greater shot at happiness with Namaka before he starts testing boundaries.
He might last a little longer.
Interesting take.
Look, Alex got very look. I'm sure they're not all married men. I'm sure they're not all single men or whatever. Maybe they're not all men. I don't know. But
that's another great.
I'll save that for the sequel. When it's no longer fun with this guy is when she says, "I'm letting you go." At the end of the movie, she says, she's uncoupling the doll from the shell, right? The shell represents him, the doll represents her. She uncouples the two of them and she says, "I'm letting you go." I think the audience might figure out quicker than Alex does that he's in mortal danger when she says, "I'm letting you go." But it's no longer fun. And I was thinking, too, for her, there's an amoral aspect. And not evil, but an amoral aspect because she's immortal and because people aren't. And she has that line earlier when she says, humans have, 80 years? That goes by like a flash of lightning, right? So I was thinking about it in terms of like how a person might go through 5 or 7 dogs in their lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
And you love all your dogs,
yeah.
but you know you're going to outlive them.
Yeah.
And so, you give your dog as the best relationship you can with that dog. And then when that time is over, you move on, right? So I think for Namaka, I think she does. Even if the next guy who comes along is the one, how long is she going to have with them, right?
Right. How long did it take you to write this movie?
I know I've written many scripts, dozens. I've written dozens of films. Every one of mine that has actually gotten made, I knew it when I was writing it that this one's actually going to happen because it happened quickly. When the writing happens quickly, it's usually a sign for me that I'm on the right track. So I always start with character. So with this movie, I developed the characters of Namaka, the character of Alex, and the character of Guy Torino. And thought about, I did a lot of my own character development, some secrets of my own about each of these characters. And then I sort of structured an outline where, okay, we're going to follow this guy, Alex, on vacation. And basically he's going to meet with Guy, then he's going to meet Namaka, then he's going to meet with Guy, and he's going to meet with Namaka. And so we're just going to follow this guy as he goes back and forth between the reality, the real world, as in a tiki bar, and out in the woods, and this fantasy world. And so that was it. I mean, so I had that as my structure. I understood my characters, and I just sat down to write, and it came quick, man. Like, this. So once every script I do, I want to make 3-dimensional characters and characters who are going to have a different point of view, different perspective from each other. And when I put them in a room together or out in the woods together, the dialogue just sort of flows. Yeah.
How much of this was ad-libbed for you guys, for the characters?
Oh, like on set?
Yeah, I mean, like how much of the movie is it? Did you throw in any of your own?
Yeah, there's
anything?
only one. One of my first lines I flubbed that made it in the final cut.
Okay.
No, there was no ad-libbing, at least for me.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think
it was. These guys did this script so well. And let's talk about how quickly. I mean, we had no rehearsal time. I mean, we did one table read, right? But I mean, I trusted you guys to do the work, to come to set prepared, and they did come prepared. And when I was editing the film, there were times I was like, "Ooh, that's a really good line. Is that an ad lib?" And I would go back to the script and be like, "Nope, it's verbatim. It's word for word." Jamie did a little bit.
Jamie did some ad libbing.
My favorite ad lib. My favorite ad lib is when he invites you. Jamie invites you to come onto his podcast, and you say, "I'll think about it," and then he goes, "You do that. You clear some time in your busy. You clear the decks in your busy schedule and think about it." Like he's offended.
That was actually like,
no, that is a great line.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Wait, can I say something?
Yes.
We were sitting at this exact table doing the table read.
That's
and
it.
then now.
How about
Yeah.
that?
Now you're doing a podcast.
Doing the podcast
There
after
you
the
go.
whole
It's
thing is
magical.
done.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of just like
Yeah.
transported in time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Well, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored
It's so
that
fun.
I get to talk with you guys about this because, I see a lot of, I love movies. I see a lot of movies that I always want to know the backstory with, the trivia and like all these things that happened with the movie behind the scenes and all the different things that are related to the movie. And maybe there's a better place for this, but I just go to IMDb and I read the trivia section because there's lots of good stuff in there about them. And then when I watch a movie I really enjoy, I go onto YouTube and I look up the movie on YouTube, and then I watch all the interviews and, you know, behind the scenes stuff, whatever they put up there. I just really enjoy everything about.
Yeah. Well, we love making them.
And the it was fun working with Jamie Kennedy. I got to do a bit of that. I remember during the table read with him, I have most of my credits are short films or, you know, small stuff and, you know, and supporting, and this is my first time getting to play lead. And Jamie was, who is this guy? Who is in getting to meet him?
Right.
What I really love, I do feel like I won Jamie over. I don't know the exact moment. He's like, well, I remember he's like, is he going to show up prepared? Can he do? Does he know what to do? And I feel like I walked away, even at the day one. I don't know when I won him over, but pretty quickly. It was really fun working with him, and and even so, he did a little more ad-libbing. And this was a conversation with Frank, I think, after one of our first takes. Hey, remember, just don't let him suck you in. You just you play stoic. You play stoic because we're having fun. We're having fun. It's like, stay stoic. Like, let him be funny, and I'll do all the work. Which was, but I think also Jamie appreciated that because he got to sort of be funny or do stuff to keep himself tickled, but also like there was some backbone work I got to do. I really enjoyed it.
Well, and he was challenging himself to be grounded, funny yet grounded, and to play a real character. And I know he's said since, because he's done some of the Q&As with this movie, and he's talked about how this was an opportunity for him to do something. He literally said to me that he thinks this is his how did he put it? He didn't say his best role, his most three-dimensional role since Randy Meeks in Scream, which is 30 years ago almost. And that meant a lot to me. I mean, because that was my intention, because I'm a huge Scream fan. It's a reason I went after him, for the role. And in fact, that was my first pitch to him. I said, imagine if Randy Meeks from Scream had faked his own death, moved to Hawaii, changed his name, and we catch up with him, 25 years later.
Well, he fits the role because of that.
Yeah.
Because of that previous character.
Yeah. And it's because he's the self-proclaimed expert, which in Scream he's the self-proclaimed horror expert. Yeah. And here he's the self-proclaimed, Hawaiian mythology expert. And that scene I was talking about earlier, his last scene where the two of you are sitting there, I told the Jamie on set, my visual reference point for this is the scene between you and David Arquette in Scream 2, where you're sitting in the diner or in the cafeteria. And it's a line, it's probably like a 3-page dialogue scene, and it's just nothing physically is happening. It's just two actors at the top of their game, and you're just riveted to this dialogue. And I was hoping to get the similar energy from that.
I forgot that David Arquette was in that movie. My favorite line from Namaka with Jamie Kennedy is when Alex is like, dude, you gotta help me. He has all the books, and he's like, well, what's all this?
Yeah, I am helping you.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Now, did you guys take away anything from the story when you walked away from the movie? Any lessons learned?
Be careful with spirits, I guess.
Be careful with spirits.
Yeah. Demigods.
I'm a slow processor. So at the expense of going on a long monologue, there was not just be happy with what you got. That's because that's a tough one. I think we should all be striving and reaching for our dreams.
That's a great takeaway from that. But did you feel sorry for either of your characters?
I really would have,
because they both have struggles.
I definitely look. Hey, Namaka's got it rough, but also, hey, we're applying a very human filter to Namaka, but she is half human, so she's entitled to it.
Oh yeah,
she's absolutely entitled to it.
Yeah, she does some pretty horrible things, and so
from a human point of view,
from a human point of view,
from a God point of view, you're just
from a God point of view, she's eating Tic Tacs, it's no big deal. But so.
And I grew up watching Labyrinth and reading fairy stories and stuff like that, and all the the idea of being taken away to like a magical world always sounds like beautiful and romantic to like a child, but like the reality of that is this is our world, and if you're having a hard time living here and you go somewhere else, there's consequences for that.
But this is the first. I said I've written dozens of screenplays. This is my first time tackling fantasy. Right, like I tend to because I I write everything from character first, and I come from a place of truth with my writing. I've never really gravitated towards science fiction or fantasy. For me, it's like real people in real situations. And I was pleasantly surprised with how easily I was able to get into fantasy. Once I made the decision, okay, I'm dealing with a demigod, and there's going to be some magical elements. It gave me a lot of freedom because the magic, you sort of write the rules as you go. Like, she is as powerful or as limited as I need her to be, depending on the scene. So that's sort of like a little cheat code when you're writing for fantasy. But I think it works because you can tell some very human truths, like, these stories about this man's struggles, or her, Namaka's, the way she uses love to, patch up her loneliness. Maybe these stories go down easier in a fantasy context.
Yeah, yeah.
And also when I first remember, I said I sent that script to Akeme for notes. She did give me some specific notes on Hawaiian culture, and but then she also said she sort of let me off the hook in a way, because she said you're writing your own version of these stories, so don't worry too much about I'm not making I'm not trying to make a real story. I'm not
nonfiction.
Yeah, right. This is in fact, like, you can. If you Google Namaka, there's a Wikipedia page on the character that says, oh, well, she's a sea god. And like in some versions of the story, she's a demigod. Some she's a full god, but this is true of a lot of mythologies, a lot of ancient cultures and religions where there are different versions of the same story.
Right.
And so it sort of let me off the hook a little bit to just tell my version of the story.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on an hour, and I don't want to wrap it just yet. I want to ask one question to all of you, just to just kind of close this up with something fun, and then we're going to talk about where people can see the movie and all that. We'll repeat all of that, but I have one question. This is not related to the movie, and we're going to go around the table. The question is, if you could spend time with anyone, real or fictitious, dead or alive, who would you choose? And we're not going to choose Namaka.
So real or fictitious?
Real or fictitious, dead or alive. So I'll give you some examples. We talked about Marty McFly. I think it'd be fun to time travel with Marty McFly. I think it'd be fun to smoke a doobie with Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm.
Would you tell Bob, hey Bob, get the foot looked at? Just look.
Don't ignore that.
The God won't be angry if you
don't
get
ignore
the foot
that.
looked
Yeah,
at.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I love Bob Marley.
Yeah,
love
me
Bob
too.
Marley.
Me too. So no offense, Ash, but I wouldn't pick Namaka.
It's okay. Yeah, I think
probably
a lot
safe.
of men wouldn't pick Namaka.
Real or fictitious, dead or alive? Do you have any idols or any?
What popped up in my head almost immediately, which has somehow become a controversial figure, whether it exists or not, but Shakespeare.
Says the actor.
Yeah, it's not even say I hate to be that guy, but one of my thoughts is one of the strange fears that in like a post-apocalyptic world, like what gets saved, what gets lost. And I am a little scared of a future without Shakespeare. I mean, and it's because all of that work, they were written as plays, but it's incredible poetry.
Yeah.
And like even here we go, even like the Marlowe was better. You know what? I don't really like Marlowe. Sorry, I mean, who cares? Who cares what Jason? But I love Shakespeare. I enjoyed studying it. It was sort of my in to acting. I was a creative writing student in undergrad, and I had a classmate who got really frustrated and was like, "Why is this a poem and not that a poem?" And like, "Well, I'm writing what I like, and why is other people's stuff better than mine?" She got really defensive of her work, but it made me think like, well, what is poetry? And it made me think about forms, because when I was younger, I'm like, I don't need forms, I don't need to write in this or that. I started looking at sonnets, and I really enjoyed the form of iambic pentameter, and like, it doesn't need a rhyme, but I found there was power to rhyming couplets.
Hey, Jason's getting a pretty deep answer here.
Well, my apologies going, look, hey.
I've got a deep answer too.
This is great.
This is good.
But even though like, Shakespeare didn't exist, and all of the media that's come off about Shakespeare being different people, and even like, Shakespeare left no heirs. And you better believe I'm like, what is it? I saw the trailer to Hamnet, and I was like, in the beginning starts, I'm like, hey, all his kids are dead, and then it leans into it. And I was like, oh, yeah, there it is. I like to believe, here we go. So I like to believe he's a real person. And I also like to believe that maybe he had some bastard children, because Stratford-upon-Avon is very, 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 very far from London. Far enough. And they weren't traveling by train.
Are you trying to tell us you're related to Shakespeare?
Yeah, why not? Hi, guys. My name is Jason Markoff, and I'm related on my mother's side.
So what you're saying is you want to spend time with a great, great, great relative.
Poet. Yeah, I know. Well, but also, hey, you know what? Something Namaka brings up, and it's, oh my God, this is one of my favorite moments. So it's after they've coupled up, right? And she talks about the ancestors watching you, and it's something we don't think about, but like, wouldn't it be really nice if everything that it took to get you to this point is sort of cheering you on a little bit, and it's just a thought. It's just something to think about.
Yeah.
And so, look, I'm very most likely not related to Shakespeare, but you know what? Thank you for bringing that up, because if he's in my corner being like, Jason, just keep going, another step, just keep on going, well, then I better keep on going.
So he is in your corner, and he is motivating you, whether or not you think he is actually like directly motivating you. He is, just from your answer alone.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great answer. I love it. What about you, Frank?
Well, you were saying, so I'm going to have a pretty deep answer too. But you were talking about Back to the Future, right? And with the charm of Back to the Future is Marty McFly at age 17 goes back in time. He meets his father at age 17.
Yeah.
The person I would hang out with if I could is my dad, who passed away years ago. And but he was my buddy and my mentor, and I miss him a lot. And so I don't mean to bring it down at all. It's just when he was my hero. So when you say who would I hang out with? My dad, and I have him to thank for, if I have any sort of career as a filmmaker, I have him to thank for it. He was I only found out recently that he had gone to college to be an art major, and he had a professor that he really loved who believed in him, and that professor passed away between his freshman and sophomore year. He came back to school sophomore year, didn't like the new teacher, and he quit. He quit being an art major, went into something more practical. He became an electrical engineer, and like only ever did art like sketches and drawings for himself, which I found after he died.
Wow.
I found this beautiful art of his that he had hid from the world. And it was, and I never got to have a conversation with him. I never saw him as an artist. And I grew up always wanting to be a writer, always wanting to be, somehow involved in the arts. And I was 27 when he passed. He wasn't sick, so he died very suddenly. But the reason I bring this up, it's not to bring down the conversation at all, but it's to tell you what my last conversation with him ever was, because it was just so profound. I said to him, I'm from Chicago. I never knew anything about film. I mean, I loved film, but I didn't know any filmmakers. I didn't know anybody who, I didn't have any ins, but I wanted to make movies. I had this desire, and I didn't articulate it to anybody. My father was the first person I articulated it to. I said, Dad, I'm thinking about moving to LA and trying to make movies. Is that crazy? He says, of course it's crazy. You should do it.
I love it.
And that was my last conversation with him ever. And,
I love it.
And so,
if he could see you today.
Yes,
right?
yes. I just want to get in that DeLorean and go back and say to him, I'm making movies now. Because I know he'd be very proud of me.
I love it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
What a sweet answer. What about you, Ash?
The pressure's on, Ash. We got Shakespeare
it's hard 'cause
and my dad.
I'm trying to think of an answer, but I'm also like, I want to listen to both of you. So I'm like, I have two, and they're kind of just gut reactions. But one of my favorite artists is Amy Winehouse. She just
Gone too
has
soon.
oozed raw talent,
Yeah.
and there was nothing anybody could do, nothing she could do besides just be an amazing artist. And so I love her music. I've always loved her music. The other person I'm thinking of is Marilyn Monroe. And I watched the more recent movie about her, Blonde, and some people didn't like the movie, but I really liked it. And she had such an interesting life, and people look at what she became and, think that she was, this starlet. And, she is, of course, but she had such a difficult and cruel upbringing that somehow led to the top fame of an actress that anybody ever has. And I think her perspective would be really interesting. And she has this quote, it's, "The best part about being a famous actress is trying to be the famous actress, not actually being the famous actress.
It's the journey.
It's the journey."
Yeah.
And so I always think about that. And it's really sad, honestly, because you work so hard to get to this place, but then actually what the best part is just the journey.
Is getting to that place, yeah.
Yeah, but because the journey is the best part, you can always stay on the journey. You can always want more.
Yeah.
You can always, strive for better. And those are cautionary tales. Amy Winehouse, Marilyn Monroe. That I think you can achieve happy. Well, we talked about this earlier about happiness as a choice, right? And the story of Namaka is a cautionary tale, right? Because you can. Well, let's go back to Shakespeare. Quote Hamlet: "I could be bound in a nutshell and declare myself king of infinite space." Right? Happiness is a choice. And hopefully. This movie, to bring it back to the movie, right? It's a weirdly joyful film, right? I take you to a tropical, fanciful, version of Hawaii. That's why we're on a tiki podcast now, because this is a tiki film, and it's meant to look at human nature from a different perspective and just have some fun with it.
Yeah. Well, I never got to say my answer. My answer is to spend my day with the cast of Namaka.
Oh,
and you guys made my dreams come true.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
For our listeners out there, this one was a tough one to get scheduled because we all have very busy lives. And so when we finally were able to put this together, we said, okay, we got to do this. Let's get together and do this. And I'm happy that we got to do this. Now, for our listeners, if they want to see the film, we said it earlier in the episode, but let's give them a recap on where they can see the movie.
Absolutely. So
and where they can follow you guys on your socials, if you guys want to give out your socials.
I'll start and then I'll throw it to you guys. But the film is namakamovie.com. And the movie is currently available on DVD or streaming. I'll go ahead and say the list again. It's you can buy the DVD on Amazon, or you can stream the movie on Amazon Prime Video, or YouTube Movies, or Fandango, or Apple TV, or Dish Network, or DirecTV, and Hoopla. You can find me on all the socials at Frank Merle.
Beautiful. Jason Markoff. You can find me on Instagram at The Dragon Markoff. But if you search for Jason Markoff, you can find me there too.
And you can find me on Instagram at Acting Ash.
I love it. Well, thanks again, you guys. I appreciate everybody out there listening. If you would like to follow our adventures, we also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/PolynesianPop. If you want to help support the show, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/PolynesianPop. All right, let's get back to our drinking.
Glorious.
Until next time, cheers and aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.